Hey kids, it's Jurassic James, and on this Jurassic James Explains, we're looking at the Jurassic World Prologue that was dropped on YouTube about 2 weeks ago. Now, I'm not going to go over too much detail because I might actually do a video like this for the museum for my job, and if I do, I'm going to put a link below. I'll probably make a playlist or something. But in the meantime, I want to go over just what we saw in the video and talk about what's right and wrong so you kind of have an idea. The first dinosaur they show us, or we see at least, is an Overraptor stealing an egg in a nest. Here's the thing. The name Overraptor means egg thief. That's what it's known for. In the 1920s, the American History Museum went to Mongolia and found Protoceratops, Velociraptor, particularly Protoceratops eggs. Protoceratops is like Triceratops, but like that tall and no horns. So the idea is that they found Overraptors near the eggs, and they assumed that they were eating them, actually. They're theropod predators, right? And they don't have like huge crushing jaws like a Tarbosaurus or a T-Rex, right? It wasn't until decades later that they realized that the times they find Overraptors near eggs, they were actually the Overraptors' own eggs. They were actually good parents, basically. So the name Overraptor stays. It's a misnomer. Now, the word misnomer means the name is not correct for what it is. It's not so much the genus. The genus is still Overraptor. It's the first one with that name, and it fits all the rules of biology. But the animal's lifestyle doesn't revolve around eating eggs. Now, the problem with this, of course, seeing this, is that the Tyrannosaurus Rex is in this video, and I'm using T-Rex as an index fossil. So an index fossil for paleo nerds is basically when you find this species of animal, it tells you exactly what time period you're in, what layer, what area, and what environment you're in. And Tyrannosaurus Rex is that because it lives between 68 and 66 million years ago in North America. So because there's a T-Rex there, I'm using that as the index fossil for the rest of the video. And Overraptors found in Mongolia 75 million years ago. So the idea is that they wouldn't live together or see each other. But there is a caveat here. There's an animal called Anzu, A-N-Z-U. It's an Overraptor cousin or Overraptorid that's found in the environment, same time, same place. So if we're seeing this animal, it's probably an Anzu, not an Overraptor, basically. And also they're correct to have feathers on it, not be naked. But anyway, side note. Now, there is they pan outwards in the video, and there's a sauropod, a long neck out there. And the only candidate I know of is Alamosaurus. Now, as a Texan, I want to believe Alamosaurus is named after the Alamo. The truth is, it's after the Alamo Formation. It's a titanosaur, sauropod, long neck. Now, in the Jurassic, I've told you before how there are two kind of long necks. We have the short arm, long leg Diplodocus with the narrow horse-like head, and then the long arm, short leg Brachiosaurus with the big boxy heads, and they generally slope up because they feed kind of down, they feed higher on average. Titanosaurs they do show up in the Jurassic period, but they're more prolific. There are more of them in the Cretaceous period, South America, Africa, and particularly everywhere really. But the idea is that the Titanosaurs are closer related to the Brachiosaur type than these. So we see a very heavy-necked animal, big animal. So it's some kind of Titanosaur, and again, given when and where it is, it should be Alamosaurus. The next thing you show is some kind of a ornithopod, which I got excited because I'm like, oh, an Ammontosaurus. But it's not. So the idea is that I see the head, and well, if given a time and space, it should be a Edmontosaurus, but it lacks the very wide beak or bill, basically, that they have. This, shape you're seeing here. And then I look at the hands, and I'm like, oh, okay. So here's the thing. Hadrosaur duckbills are very, very unique in that most dinosaurs have a first toe. Not a thumb, but a first toe. We count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And dinosaur ancestors had essentially 5 digits, and they began losing their limbs. So you see Allosaurus that has a 3, it's like, or raptors like this. Ceratosaurus has a 4, they lose them going in. So what's really neat is that when you see a T-Rex, it's really just the 2 fingers like this. But Edmontosaurus is weird because it actually loses the thumb spike. So it walks on 3 as a pinky for grabbing leaves. The 3 are actually like a mitten, so that is it's walking on this. So they have this really kind of unique hand. Well, they show the head, and like, well, that's kind of an iguana looking head, but maybe they animate it weird. And then they pan down, you see its hand, and it's a hand of an iguanodon. I'm like, okay, this is bad. Okay. So iguanodon has 5 fingers. So you have like this, like, hey, dude, thumbs up. The idea is that they have a thumb spike for protection. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, they're messing the timeline up. The earlier ones were like locality kind of thing, but here, iguanodons are found in early Cretaceous rock, and not late Cretaceous. So then I'm like, okay, they put an iguanodon and the same time for the T-Rex. This is getting bad. Moving forward, we have a fun thing to point out. I know Triceratops, which I like these guys because the horns come out. They remind me of longhorn, like cattle. And these were found in the Campanian, not the Maastrichtian. Now, I've explained this before. In the dinosaur timeline, we have the Triassic at the bottom, Jurassic in the middle, Cretaceous on top. In Cretaceous, you have your lower and upper, or early and late. In late Cretaceous, you have more subdivisions, and the very last one where T-Rex is found is the Maastrichtian. That's 68, 65 million years ago. The one before that is called the Campanian. This guy lived in Campania 75 million years ago. Now, I will give them credit that they had one of them with a broken horn. That was kind of cool. But the idea is that this is a different time as well. It should have been Triceratops. My best guess is that the film director, everyone, we've seen Triceratops and T-Rex. The reason they're well known, they're both the biggest of their type, and they were contemporaries. We know that T-Rex ate Triceratops, so you find their bones, and their poop. We find their bite marks on them, so we know they're eating them, right? But so that was just a artistic choice, I think. Bear in mind, the reason this is a big deal to me is that a lot of people point out and joke about Jurassic Park having all these different timed animals in the same island. Well, the nature of the universe is that they're taking DNA from all these places and they're making dinosaurs and just keeping it on the island. So it makes sense in that context that Velociraptor lives a T-Rex. But this prologue is supposed to be going back in time to the actual Cretaceous period and showing that in that world. So then when you don't hold up the standards of what the animals are, that's why there's a complaint there, because I don't want people to see that and think, oh, this is how it really is, and it's enough to be okay, but still not correct. Next thing which they show is a pterosaur, a large pterosaur gliding down, which is really good. And it's thought to be Quetzalcoatlus. So this is an animal that lived with T-Rex, found in Big Bend, West Texas, 1970s. What's really cool is that when it lands, it assumes the position that, they stand on all four, and their pinky, if you look at the actual guy here, let's see, or gal, there's like 1, 2, 3 fingers, and this long bit's a fourth finger. So essentially with pterosaurs, they're missing their pinky, and their ring finger goes on and on and on. That's the actual wing you're seeing. So when they walk, they tuck it in like this. So this model is showing that. The difference is most depictions show it standing upright. This one's kind of like hovered down, but they usually their necks aren't very flexible. They have like these long vertebrae, and so they usually depict them like giraffes. Their necks going up and like that. So they show that. That's pretty good. What's also really good is that it actually is shown scavenging. So Pteranodon with the crest on his head, and a lot of other large pterosaurs are found in what we call like paleo near the ocean. They're living near seas. They're having fish-based diets. Quetzal, where it's living, there is the ocean, that inward sea in the Campanian, 75 million years ago, is draining out by 70 million years ago, or 68. So it's more like an open plain. So the fact that it was scavenging a dead body, that's pretty on par with what we think. Again, we don't know. One of the fun questions on a tour is like, what does it eat? And the answer is like, meat? We know it ate meat. We know they're carnivores. Pterosaurs are carnivores. But again, with T-Rex, we have the bite marks on Triceratops, on Edmontosaurus, where you see there's a missing part of Edmontosaurus. The bones in the tail going up are called neurospines. The ones going down are called chevron. They found in Canada Edmontosaurus with the neurospine missing, and the T-Rex tooth fixed in that spot, So we're sure they're trying to eat them at least, With Quetzal, we don't know. We know they're carnivores, but we don't know what they were eating exactly. So they weren't like fishing or anything. But anyway, the last thing to point out in the video was it showed a Geothesaurus and a T-Rex fight. Now there will be, I saw it online already, a Geothesaurus Jurassic World figure. I kind of anticipated this, so I'm going to do that species review with that figure when it comes out. Because I have a lot of Geothesauruses, but I've never done a video on one before, so I'm waiting for that figure to do that video. But in the meantime, Geothesaurus literally means, it's not Gigantosaurus, it's Giganotosaurus. It means gigantic southern lizard because it's found in South America. So it is the largest, as far as we know, the largest predatory dinosaur in South America's history, and it lived about 30 million years before T-Rex. So the first thing you think is, well, if there's a T-Rex there and a Giganotosaurus, maybe it's like a land bridge crossing. As you know, or may not know, South America broke apart from Pangea. It was an island until about 2.7 million years ago. This is uh, like 73 million years, or almost more, 74 million years, 60, sorry, it's way after dinosaurs. So, we've actually seen in mammal evolution, in the Pliocene, that in the land bridge connects, we see, saber-tooth cats and things go south, and giant armadillos and giant birds and sloths go north. So we see this great interchange. That didn't happen then. Although it's been argued that Alamosaurus, sauropods went extinct for the most part in North America. And in fact, the Alamosaurus was there towards the end. It could have come from South America or Asia, most likely Asia, its ancestry. But anyway, different talk. But they were at the same time, because when Tyrannosaurus Rex lived, it was the only large predator where it lived. The only other animal that could have been a threat to it would have been the alleged, or maybe you believe or not, I don't know, Nanotyrannus, even they were way smaller. So Tyrannosaurus Rexes fought with each other. We know we find injuries on them from each other. So these animals would have never met, basically. But in the sake of the movie or the canon, it did, and all that, right? But the idea is that Tyrannosaurus Rex itself, they fought, and Colin Trevorrow said this in one of the interviews. He was saying how he said it in a weird way. He was essentially saying that when you watch Discovery, this is true, Discovery Channel, the animals are pretty laid back. Everything's kind of happening, and there's a quick fight scene, and then nothing, So the fight scene happens very quickly, and that to me was a good explanation for that. The idea is that when you watch Discovery Channel, I show the animals running around real fast. That's like after 20 hours of just staring at nothing. It's not always high action, like a Bond film kind of thing. So that was really neat. Tyrannosaurus, although it did die, spoiler, did die pretty quickly. And then of course the mosquito comes and bites it, and that's supposed to be the mosquito whose DNA is held that makes Rexy. The final thing I want to point out, and that's something I really liked, they pointed this out, is that when they show the Tyrannosaurus in not the future, today, and she's walking along, and she sees like we call it, those outdoor movie theaters, drive-in theaters, and he points, the idea that Rexy has been kind of trained to follow lights, to follow flares. They have when Grant does a thing, and then in Jurassic World proper in the movie, they have the goat there, and they throw the flare to the goat, which to me it was funny, because it was like, she can sense a goat. She's a T-Rex. Even if she's older, she can sense a T-Rex thing. But they kind of throw a flare lazily to kind of leer towards it. So for her to see the movie projection, that's light, and she to go to it, because she's used to seeing that, associated with food. But then a helicopter's chasing her, and what's really cool is that they make her essentially, she's frightened. And I have two minds on this. One, these are animals. And for me, Jurassic Park, the biggest interpretation, the biggest influence was dinosaurs aren't monsters, and they're not cartoon characters, they're animals. The movie first made me realize that as a kid. I was like, oh, they're just animals. They're just bigger animals or different animals. And they are pushing in the franchise to make them more like characters, like Blue and Rexy, a character that and interact with on the, but at the end of the day, their behavior should follow animal behavior, which is why like Pacific Rim or A Quiet Place, those creatures are monster alien things with agendas, but dinosaurs in Jurassic Park are just animals. And when she is being chased and she's roaring, they intentionally made her roar sound like she's frightened, because she would have been. And when people show animals, like, they show the animals always running and screaming at people in the movies. Most animals always roar when they're frightened. They're trying to ward off. They're trying to scare away. When they're hunting, they're super silent. The idea is that they don't want you to know they're coming, and because then there's a fight, they want to take you out, right? So for her to roar like that, it was the roar we all know from Rexy, but it was a roar that was frightened. And they show the next part, her running away. That's beautiful. That was it, And for me, that's one thing I know a lot of the franchise people or people who fans want to see dinosaurs on the mainland. That's what the whole focus has been. But to me, I'm terrified for them, because I know my species. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing the movie just to see how this pans out, because I'm from Texas. We don't have bears and wolves. Like that's history. Anyway, so that being said, that's my take on the video. Again, if I actually do a video for the museum, I'll link it. I'll put it somewhere. But I wanted to show you this kind of my interpretation of this, and show you that I know it's like it's a movie. just toys. But my biggest complaint was in this one sequence, they're saying we are actually in the late Cretaceous period, and they didn't put the right dinosaurs together. It's like, okay, but whatever. It's what it is, and it's a movie, right? But that being said, thank you for tuning in. Tell me if you like this closer image, because I had the video further back to see more of the collection, but I had a comment saying, hey, we can't see the toys when they're so far back. So now I have them like here. You can see them up close. There she is, up close, looking at you, looking at you, looking at you. Anyway, that being said, I'll see you guys next week, and we'll do a spotlight species, just one species, not the concept again. See you guys later. Bye.